Hello everyone, and you're watching Bitcoin Bubble news channel. The fifth Bitcoin split will happen in more than 1,300 days. I think it's completely crazy to think that Bitcoin won't set a new all-time high in the next 1,300 days. Now I think it's almost certain to happen. I can't say for sure, but it's getting close. In the beginning of this video, it was shown that Bitcoin generally breaks its all-time high every 8 to 6 months. As of now, it's been 4 months, which means that Bitcoin could start to rise above its all-time high in 2, 3, or 4 months. Don't just touch it, right? The second time we cut it in half, it came back, and 8 months later, we started to rise above the all-time high. The last half took 6 months. It is thought that we will start to move above the all-time high in about 2 to 4 months. It's the same this time. I know that was said before, and it's still true this time. It's above this resistance line right now, which has been a multi-year resistance for Bitcoin dominance. We are starting to see a peak above that resistance. The last time I talked about this, I said I wouldn't be surprised to see a blow-off top in dominance above this resistance line before pulling back into alt season. Would it surprise me if we saw another fake out up for Bitcoin dominance before a major push into alt season? Yes, that wouldn't surprise me at all. As I said, we're going to have an alt season at some point. The question is when we'll see that turnaround in Bitcoin dominance? Well, take a look at the three right now. Still, the altcoins are putting in a good shape, and this setting is no different. We are at the exact same point in time as the last cycle, which ran from 2020 to 2021. However, you break the lower high 157 days after the peak, and we are still on track. We were higher on November, in the month of November. It will start to lose market share to other cryptocurrencies once they break out of this band of consolidation. When does Bitcoin's popularity start to go down? Every time a cycle starts, Bitcoin power starts to go down after it breaks the all-time high. That's how things work. So I think there will be a lot of demand for Bitcoin as long as it's not at its all-time high. That means control may still go up until we break out. And that's the whole cap. I added 3 new altcoins to the Patreon Discord list today. You guys, there are only a few spots left here. There is a deal every year. Make the most of this. This is not the place where I talk about altcoins. Bitcoin or the altcoin market cap is all I use most of the time. If you want to see individual altcoin picks, I'll show them to you in the Patreon Discord. For people who don't want to hear about altcoins, that way we can keep the topics separate. If you're interested, click the link below and join right away. When we look at Bitcoin's weekly chart, we can see that this is the most reliable warning Bitcoin has ever had. For me, the most accurate signal of all time is the weekly RSI breakout signal. There isn't really a better one out there. When we break through the weekly RSI support, big runs happen. So what happens when we break through the RSI support line? So that's a 6-month run in 2019. After COVID, we broke through the RSI limit. That set us on an upward path for a year. The next time we broke through this RSI block, it took us about 6 months to get to that peak. The next one came not long after that and was almost exactly 6 months later. When we break this, it's usually at least 6 months to the good. That's where we are, guys. Right now, we're getting the message. The weekly light hasn't closed yet, but if you zoom in, you can see that we've already broken that week RSI decline line for the week. This tells us that the big picture is going to turn strong for the next 6 months. November, December, January, February, and March. That's a lot of time, 6 months, guys. This isn't just my opinion. This comes from facts. It's based on a signal that has been very reliable throughout Bitcoin's past. Right now, that's what I think is most likely. When the Federal Reserve lowered interest rates, the market responded positively. Stocks are at all-time highs, and Bitcoin is rising. Is there a reason to think that Bitcoin won't soon hit a new all-time high and start moving toward another one? Will be on time? Again, it's only been 4 months since Bitcoin was cut in half. It only needs to go up another 16% to reach a new all-time high. That's it. We're very close. We're much closer than most people think, and as soon as Bitcoin starts to rise toward its new all-time high, it won't be long before it does. That's when altcoins really start to take off, when Bitcoin falls the most, and when it rises the most, interest in crypto goes through the roof. This causes all the other coins to start pumping along with Bitcoin, kind of like a everything season. This is how this usually works in this industry and market. If you lie your way from high to low, you can see how it happened in the last cycle. I know I'm not using log scale fibs, but you can see that Bitcoin hit 3,618 from high to low in the last cycle high. If you look closely, you can also see that Ethereum hit around the same number from high to low using normal fibs. With 3,618 hits, Bitcoin goes from a high point to a low point. In the last session, they both went after the same goal. Since this is the case, I don't think we'll reach 3,618. In the last video, I said we would talk about upside goals. That's what I'm doing now. I don't think we'll reach the 3,618 if we go from high to low. Okay, well, that's a rough guess. It's possible that we'll hit, say, 102,000 right now. And if things are going really well, maybe another level up. I also know that a lot of people are now very, very negative about the Bitcoin price and the Bitcoin market for some reason. We're pretty close to the all-time high, so I don't know why. Since the beginning of 2023, we've been going up. A big wave of growth has been going on. People just don't want to wait. Bitcoin has been doing really well. It seems likely that things will keep going in this direction. Now let's get more specific about the goal. The middle goal is 50,000, which is found by dividing 60,000 by 6, 10,000 by 5, and 2,000 by 4. This gives us a low-end goal of 95,000. This is the goal I set for my Patreon. Based on a decreasing percentage, the lowest price that Bitcoin can reach this cycle is $95,000. The biggest goal that can be reached is going to be 190,000. That's the top end, not likely. It's less likely that high will happen than low. 142,500 is the number in the middle of those two. That is based on a number that goes down. That's what I see now, 142,500. And if you look at Bitcoin over the long term, and if you have the Bitcoin halving cycle profit indicator that I made and that you can use for free on TradingView, you can go to the settings and look at it this way. You'll see that the area of highest profitability usually happens after the halving between 40 and 80 weeks. It's neither 40 weeks nor 80 weeks. It could be either, but it must be somewhere in the middle, right? I mean, that's a pretty big time frame, but this is always the most profitable place. In 2017 and 2018, we reached our highest point around the 80th week. We reached our peak around the 80th week, around the 80th week of 2021. Around the 40th week, the first peak showed up. If you look at this sign right now, it shows that January 2025 is 40 weeks after the half. The trend is likely to last at least until January. And as we talked about earlier in the video, the gold zone could be anywhere in that 6-month period from March to April. And if that's the case, we hit our mark at that height. It looks like we'll stick together through the summer. Then, if we were going to get a higher high, that would happen in September or October 2025. That is a very, very wild guess. Thoughts? I believe we will be trending up until at least the start of 2025. The worst thing that could happen is that we only trend up until the new year and then there will be a long bleed out period of a couple of years.